chairs, according to the schools, units, homes that serve communities that have been worst hit by natural disasters. So it's about social services infrastructure. And from your remarks, I don't think it is only limited to what I've read, because there's some element of energy that I heard from you. So these are the resources you are coming to justify. And I think we can also introduce ourselves, since some of you are new in this committee. My name is Amos Rugorovi. I chair this committee, budget committee.
My name is David Muzebi. I'm a member of this committee. I'm one of the victims of the rising record of
You are declaring your interest.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you, Chair. I'm called Okin Fon, a member of the committee, and I represent the
Yeah. I'm sure Bududa is very familiar to you because of the frequent disasters. Must be your home. So now, Mr. Permanent Secretary, I think it is now your turn to unpack what you have come with.
Yes, Honorable Chair. I first of all want to thank you and appreciate that you allowed us to come today. You allowed us to come today, as opposed to yesterday, when you had initially invited us because of the commitment we said. As I said before, Sir Honorable Chair, when this problem started of the rising waters of Lake Victoria, they were affecting people in different ways. In some of the areas, actually, some of the islands were submerged, so people had to be shifted and settled in some other places. That's why our cabinet put in place an interministerial committee which comprises of those ministries that we have mentioned before, Ministry of Water, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Agriculture, and then Office of Prime Minister. And each one of these ministries had a different role to play. But as I also mentioned before, Honorable Chair, the leadership for all this initiative was Ministry of Water, because the subject we were dealing with was a subject of water. At this point, sir, I want to request that you allow me to request my colleague from Ministry of Water to first of all give the highlights, the overview of the different approaches, and also make a mention of the budget request which was made to Ministry of Finance. But under this budget request, Honorable Chair, the different ministries have got components on it. Whereas Office of Prime Minister has the component of resettling the people, we have Ministry of Works, a component of clearing, and I request my colleague will articulate the rest of the other activities.
Okay.
Yes, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable members, my name is Dr. Florence Grace Adong. I'm representing the Government of my substantive position is Director of the Water Resources Management. Thank you, Chair. As has been presented by the Permanent Secretary, the water level of Lake Victoria started rising in September 2019 to a point when it exceeded the historical water level of 1964. And in 2020, we are now having the highest water level ever recorded in 124 years of our record.
How many years?
In 124 years of our record. In 1964, which had been the highest water level of Lake Victoria,
Do you have any working documents you can circulate?
Yes, sir, we have some from Office of Prime Minister. I will ask
Including what she presented?
but no, not including that.
Are you not in trouble?
just came with the action plan.
Do you have some copies?
Mr. Chairman, if she could make it available, our clerk can quickly put a copy.
Do you have an extra copy?
I came with just the plan.
But sir, this is still general. If I will request
I just wanted the preamble so that you appreciate where we are coming from and just go straight to the.
But you see, we all don't belong to your profession. You are not talking to yourself. You are talking to lay people, and we want to learn. Huh? We can only learn if you have got something in writing. We learn better. We
Yeah,
can help
because
you.
you are going to go away.
Sorry,
Uh-huh.
Chair, we can
We
submit.
need point of reference.
Sorry, we got this information very late yesterday evening, but I didn't come with it, but we have. I got it yesterday in the evening after 5. We can submit through your clerk.
I thought the invitation was sent out last week.
Yes. And you don't feel the right to communicate to them. That's what is happening. Anyway, to the crisis management. You can manage the crisis. You can go on with the preamble.
I'll just summarize and then we can submit the write-up.
Yeah, that information was very useful.
Yes.
That's historical information about Lake Victoria. You want to learn?
I shall submit.
Continue.
Okay. So in 2020, 1964, we recorded 13.41 meters. That was the highest in our record. But in 2020, we went up to 13.48 meters. Now, this rising water level of Lake Victoria has been attributed to the intensified and prolonged rains in the Lake Victoria Basin. And the bigger part of the basin is outside Uganda. So we have been receiving from over 20 rivers in Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, high amount of water that the lake could not contain. So the level went up. Now when the level went up, it came with some threats, including floating islands, which started moving, which obstructed the power production on 14th of April. So based on that, as the PS has said, a technical committee has been set, which is interministerial, to come out with the most effective way of handling the impact of the rising water level. But now also we have floods. So 3 key subcommittees were established, and of utmost priority was to ensure the safety of the hydropower dam in Jinja, because the 3 hydropower dams contribute to 70% of the power production in the country. Protect lives and property, and then monitor and survey continuously what is happening in the system so that we are able to intercept any other threats that could be coming. Now, based on these 3 subcommittees, the Ministry of Works and Transport chaired the safety of the hydropower dam with the relevant ministries under them. The protection of lives and property was chaired by Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, and monitoring and surveillance by the Ministry of Water and Environment. And based on the guidance, we came out with short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans. But of priority was the short-term, which is 6 months, that was presented, amounting to 45.885 billion. That was presented for urgent support. However, Chair, I would like to inform you that this budget was done thinking that we would have the funds to undertake activities between January and June. Since the submission of the budgets, there are several emerging issues that have come up, which are equally of importance and which have not been put in this particular budget. If I may take you, I don't know whether I should take you in the details of the budget. On the short term, the first 6 months, that came to 45
Before you
billion.
take us to the budget, may
Yes.
we know the budget issues which were not included in the budget? Those emerging issues.
The emerging issues that were not included in the budget includes the flash floods in the Kasese region, the flooding which is taking place in the Kyoga Basin and Albert Basin were not taken care of in this particular activity, and some other important studies that must be taken rapidly to appreciate the magnitude of the problem and forecast what is coming forward. We had expected, Honorable Chair, that the January, July, August, and September weather forecast would be normal, when we would have a lot of sunshine, so that much of the Lake Victoria water can be evaporated. But from the recent forecast, it's not going to be like that. We are going to expect some more rains, especially in the highlands. So that is going to add on to the problem that we have right now in the near future.
So you said the budget is 45 billion.
Yes.
Where is that 45? Is it in this budget?
The figure.
Where do you look for it?
I've seen it. Where is 45? Or you mean 85?
There's also 150 billion.
In the short term, there is short term, medium, and long term.
Okay, so this should
So
have-
85 is long term.
Yeah, medium.
Cost estimate, no.
The short term is, I think, 7.5 billion. But you cannot.
Well, she has presented her part. Maybe the budget expert can take on. Don't you think so? The budget, the figure, the what? The accounting.
Yeah, I don't think this week has
An expert on the accounting can now can take
Which
on.
one did you say?
Honorable Chair, if you allow, I'll request, with your permission, I'll request our officer in charge of disaster, who has been part of this committee, to give a build-up, making reference to at least a document.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. When you look at this document, which also tries to give the picture that the director has already given, behind of it there is a budget which talks about the 3 phases When you check behind of it, there is a summarized budget which talks about the 3 phases, that is short term, medium term, and long term. But as the director mentioned, our first focus will be on the first phase, where we have interventions like safety of the hydroelectric power dams, and that would require 7.5 billion. Protection of lives and property, 35,250. Monitoring and surveillance operations, 2,250, and that gives us the total of 45.
45 billion. I think hydroelectric power dam, I think they are already secured.
Yes.
Yeah, that one is already done.
It's already done.
Was
Because that one will be reached.
Was it reported in the state of the nation address? Was in the budget
Yes, why did you take on that?
Honorable Chair, I think it still continues, but I would request Minister of Energy to make a comment. And works.
This is one of water. And the director of water should tell us.
Yes, Honorable Chair, as I have mentioned, the rising water level has not yet ended properly because of the current season, which we had expected to be dry, but is not going to be dry. However, we have attained 6 centimeter decrease from the highest mark that I've told you. But as of now, River Kagera, which is the main inflow into the lake, is still 1.5 meters higher than the 1964 historical level. So more water is still coming from outside. And we are continuing to monitor, and most likely, if the rains continue as predicted, the level might start rising again. We have also increased the release at Jinja to 2,400 cubic meters per second, which is very high. But after doing that for 1 month, we have only achieved 6 centimeter decrease in the lake. So we are still at a very unstable condition and can turn out.
Centimeter is big.
So would you open the freezer?
Kyoga is already flooding because of this impact, and it will be extremely dangerous if we did that.
It's already
So
dangerous.
we need to,
At this level,
it's already dangerous.
Yeah. I think 4 of my villages were swept away in Kayunga.
Yes, it's already very
Because of that
dangerous.
water releasing.
Yeah.
People there are displaced, but I've not seen you there. Bringing Kawunga.
even Kachung. Kachung Water Works, which is very important for them, supplying water for the whole city, the new city of Lira.
Chair,
It's flooded.
Sweden, Chair.
Go ahead.
Chair, the procedure issue I'm looking at is, when I look at the presentation of the committee chair
Should be sorted out.
of OPM, the figures, actually this is a, as they have said, this is an action plan, which is actually long-term, some are medium, some are immediate. So my take is that this document was not specifically prepared for this committee and this presentation. And when I look at it, Chair, they are so detailed, they are so technical, that they require the scrutiny of the sectoral committees. Given then, again, Chair, I realize that we are talking about a supplementary which must be expended within
2
a few days.
2 days.
A few days. And when I look at all their interventions, they are really things which are at earliest they are in months or weeks. The earliest they can start these interventions are actually in July beyond. So, Chair, the procedure which I'm raising is that other than going into these nitty-gritty details of the technical submission from the committee, from the team, which actually requires closer scrutiny by the sectoral committee, because they are very, very technical, and those committees are well versed with these interventions. Would it be procedurally proper if the PS addresses us on how, if we give them this money, they can use before the financial year ends, so that we see whether we can, within the laws, the PFMA and the Constitution, whether it will be tenable for us.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when I look at the schedule and the presentation being referred to, it responds to the matters of national importance that we have raised on the floor of Parliament, and I've personally raised one. So now the people have been affected by the rising levels of water. So I know much as we may need all that scrutiny, the issues presented here are very urgent. Much as we later on present my concerns on some of these presentations, is therefore the Honorable in order to divert this committee from dealing with this very urgent issue of serious importance.
I'm talking about legal issues.
Yes, now you see, what you are raising is a matter that has been raised. You are raising a matter that has been raised for the rest of the supplementary schedule. So it is not only unique to OPM. It's a matter that the Ministry of Finance has to sort out. You remember I raised an objection on the floor, but did not succeed. So they said you go and process. So our duty is to process and send it to the next level. And then it will be up to them to see how they handle it, how they sort themselves out. Yes. But I think you need to be very clear in your presentation on the key in the critical interventions. For instance, the displaced people. Where are you addressing this? Accommodating and feeding those displaced people, you know. The water, yes, has claimed its course, but it has displaced people, you know. So that displacement factor in this intervention needs to be clearly identified. Yes, you are using a term, protection of lives and property. I don't know what that one means. Whatever it means, I don't know, you know. So our critical concern are these people. Water has displaced. And when the water eventually recedes, you know, you'll find damaged houses. How are we going to help these communities to restore their original status, you know, when they finally get back? Secondly, there are problems such as submerged toilets, latrines, which are now contaminating water in the lake, which might cause problems, health problems. Could be a health hazard to the users of that water. The fishermen who have been fishing on those water bodies, who have been thrown out of business, you know, how to help them out. I don't know, Honorable Cecilia, you can add how your people have been affected.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my situation is not different from the rest of the countries which have already been shared on the floor of Parliament. We have an entire sub-county of Agwata, almost half of it has been submerged.
and they are aware that that's where they have installed their water supply or water processing plants, which processes water to supply the city of the new city of Lira and others. So the situation is going from bad to worst. We have dignified personalities who have already been displaced, like Justice Opia Weri, who comes from that area. We have Honorable Levi Okodi, who has been displaced. They have moved out because their houses have already been swallowed up in the flood. So it's a serious disaster, particularly the old and the young. They are really, really desperate. This is a matter which I believe that the Ministry of Water may not manage, but I think we may have to focus our concern to the Ministry of Disaster to be able to take immediate action. One, to address the issue of mosquito nets, because these children are now sleeping under people's veranda, under the trees, and it's raining, so they need blankets, they need tarpaulins, they need tents, they need even medication. We have already had cases of diarrhea, leave alone starvation. Cases of diarrhea as there. We have cases of mothers who have delivered in that bad situation. It's very heartbreaking to be a leader at this time. So the situation is really, really bad. And we don't know how we can express it. Because the people of Kayunga have raised concern. People of Serere have raised concern. And several other places in Uganda. So it is the case of Kachung that has not been registered. But it is already known because the people of Lira have already written to you to say that their water supply is already being threatened. And so I really don't know what we can do, but action has to be taken now. And that's why I'm pleading with my colleagues. Much as this presentation is not properly structured to meet our needs at this very moment. But I think there are very urgent matters like immediate supply of emergency items, which we have already highlighted, and even surveillance and monitoring. We need to do surveillance. We need to know if the situation is going to reduce or escalate. We need to know. Then we can provide adequately. So I think, Mr. Chairman, much as we are not very comfortable in the manner in which these people have structured their presentation, but they have not captured the main issue. Which, we want something which we can handle now, because we don't have time. The financial year is ending, and we wanted a situation where you can say, if you approve this budget, we can have the Minister of Finance disperse in the next 1 day, and then the second day will be on the ground in Kachung, in Agwata. I will be very happy. In fact, I will physically be there to receive you.
Okay, so Permanent Secretary, you want to supplement?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, when you look at items 23, 24, 25, and 26, we seriously do.
Can we allow us to get there?
Page 5.
On this document, yeah.
Page 5.
Item 21.
23, 24, 25, and 26. They seriously deal with what Honorable Cecily has been talking about. But the challenge that we've been having in the past is the manner in which affected communities have not been considered very well on the basis of improper profiling of the affected communities.
Even 17.
So we need a schedule that will give us an insight of what has been seriously studied to ensure that once support comes out, it really deals with the people that were affected. When you look at this infrastructure being talked about, health, schools, and water supply, when you reflect on what is practical, I don't know the basis on which this particular infrastructure was brought out prominently. Because, for instance, I have 23 landing sites. But when you look at them, none of them has a school in close proximity or a health center. But what is seriously affected are the community roads. And they don't appear anywhere in this kind of prioritizing.
But a school, if they don't have a school.
This is what I'm saying.
Claiming a school.
Yes, but ours have not been affected as schools. I'm saying why aren't those, the basic infrastructure, like community roads, not considered under this program? Because people have no
That's what they
access.
have been told to go and reconsider.
Yes, so it has to be captured.
But the roads in a flood,
The what?
roads in a flooded place.
Because
What
they,
roads are you talking about?
I mean, they flood and you know, capture the whatever, the infrastructure. How do people get to those landing sites?
No, but I told you that they are,
Now, what-
they are being relocated
No.
to areas that are accessible.
That is another point. Because even the relocation is still an issue, and they have to go through a road. These people have been having existing
Yeah, but of course.
road infrastructure,
you know,
which
once
is
they have
broken.
been allocated to them, you have to think about the road infrastructure to those points.
How will it be catered for when it is not captured here? It cannot be implied, Mr. Chairman.
There is number 35.
It cannot be implied.
Number 35, the ability to address.
It cannot be implied.
Drainage structures.
Yes. Roads cannot be implied.
Yeah, most of these items are there.
It is a particular aspect.
Yes, in order that we don't waste time, we agree in principle that there's a need for this intervention. However, you have not prepared a good schedule for this committee to deal with the problem. We can give you an hour or two to go and extract those emergencies, these texts, put them in a proper schedule, and address, the problems as we have highlighted them, especially the people. Lives are very important. That's the first priority, and I think we need to deal with that one first, and the associated infrastructure, to help those individuals who are affected. The information, part of the information is in here, but you have given us a well-loaded document, and we have to struggle to extract. Right?
That's not include evicting people.
Eh?
Because they also want to evict people.
Evicting how? I don't think this is a team that evicts people.
The effective, they are living in a dangerous,
They should not.
They evacuate.
dangerous mechanical condition.
Maybe the language used. They evacuate. number what?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to give you information. Mr. Chairman, can I give you information?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to guide the team. I have quickly look at your presentation, the first one. And I found that item A from page 4 is very, very relevant. Very, very relevant. However, when you go to page 5, you need to look at number 35, because in Dokolo, which Dokolo, by the way, is not only a Aguata sub-county. We are also talking about Kwera and Kangai. Those two areas are also affected. Now, you need 35 because that's where we need culverts to drain some roads, culverts and so on. The chair has also drawn my attention to item 54, rapid assessment of fragile areas. I think that is also important because it all needs financial involvement at the moment. We need to sensitize the people because this is a time when politics is also hot. So if you just get people who haven't seen the water, the water is going to arrive in a month, but they are saying it's politics, and they will resist, And when the Ogwals go there, the Musevenis go there, they say, you will not get our votes because you forced us out of our homes, So there is politics. So we need to engage people so that they know whatever action is being taken is for their own good. And they are part and parcel of the decision we are making
I think this is what I want. There must be some kind of partnership, a kind of negotiation, so that they understand where we are going to. So item A, Mr. Chairman, I find it very, very relevant. On page 2. No, sorry. On page, on page 4, yeah. On page 4. Yeah. On short term. Yeah, number is already under A. It's already under A. What is wrong with your document? This is the document I'm looking at.
It's not the problem, it's not the document that has the problem.
I'm asking you whether you are comfortable with number 17.
Or number 17,
If you are comfortable.
immediate eviction of illegal settlers from. No, this one doesn't concern me very much because we don't have land grabbers there. The land grabbers fear Lango, they can't be there. So I'm not scared of that one. That one will handle locally.
So, Mr. Dongo,
Yes, Honorable.
I think the committee can go and retreat somewhere
Yes, sir.
and come up with the schedule for spending this 45 billion while dealing with emergencies only.
Mr.
How
Potter,
long can it take you?
Mr. Potter, can you get them a place?
No, they just next day.
Some amendment there, can it be well aligned to ministries?
The IT, it has to be
Yeah,
the same way.
Thank you so much, Chair.
They are
This is a task force made up of different agencies.
multi-sectoral.
Multi-sectoral.
Thank you so much. Let's go to work on that. I just want to give an assurance to this committee, because for sure the problem is still there. I will just make mention. This morning at 5, one of your colleagues actually called on my phone to express exactly the problems that are involving actually the people. This is in Bulisa, which is almost the lowest bed of River Nile. A lot of people have been displaced. So it is really a big problem. It's really a big problem. But let's go and make the schedule, and then we submit it to you, Honorable Chair.
No, you will come back and present it. 1 hour maybe.
1 hour.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So I give you 2 hours.
Thank you so much. 2 hours.
You want the room here?
Yes. Yeah, we are going just next door. So within 2 hours, the Honorable Chair, we shall be here.
She has a permanent home with Madame Rose. Yeah, has a permanent home with them.
We'll do it the road. Okay, thank you.